Alright guys, welcome back to the Department of Filtration. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a experiment and test some different things. And what we're going to be looking at is the water separation quality of these fuel filters. So to start out with, I'm going to start by explaining a little bit about the basics of how these types of filters work and what they're meant to do. One thing to start off with to understand is that these are all diesel filters, and one of the ideas are obviously filter particulates, but they also serve purpose as a water separator to get the water out of the fuel that might have been there in the tank or something. The water is very bad for your injector pump and injectors and the rest of your engine. They can stuff it up real quick. You don't need much water to do that. And so that's where some of these filters come into play a bit. Now, I will just now take it outside and take a look at your basic sort of CAV diesel fuel filter water separator and have a quick look at how it actually works, and we'll come back. Alright guys, so we're down at the car now, looking at how the fuel filter is set up and how it works. So I've got the housing here. I've got the two fuel filters. This is the factory one, and then this is the add-on pre-filter and a water separator. It's currently running an FF167A on there. And so the way it works is obviously there's the head here. The filter goes up into the housing there, and it's sealed around the top, and then there's also this glass bowl on the bottom which just caps off the end of it, and it does have a little drain on the bottom there. The fuel just comes in this one here, which on this particular one I've got a hand primer on there, and it'll come into the middle of the filter and then go down straight down into the bottom of the bowl. And already if there's any sort of water, then the gravity will start to separate it, and then it'll sit in the bottom of the bowl because it's heavier than the fuel is. But then as the fuel gets pumped, it's going to start to come and pump it up through the filter media itself. So up through these holes in the bottom, up through the filter media and out the top, where the housing is then going to take the fuel, pump it back down through this other pipe. So I'll hold together through a central bolt in the top here, and then this one here is a bleed valve. And there's ports on the other side here just in case you wanted to mount it differently, but it's a pretty simple setup there. It's been around a long time, lots of things have them on there. Got one on my tractor as well. The other SuperCheap filter I got in there works with a similar concept. They have a different housing, it's a lot more modern, but it works on the same type of principle as these sort of things. So it's a quick overview of how they work, what they do. So they do actually filter particles as well as separate the water. So it's sort of a bit of a dual purpose thing. Yeah, so I'll head back inside and continue with the experiment. Alright, so we're seeing how the fuel filter works there. Now, this one is your classic sort of Fleetguard one, FF167A. Is your CAV Delphi 296. We've looked at this. This is sort of the genuine part of that sort of setup. We've had a look at that in a previous video. The actual sort of filter itself is not really important for this. We're just going to be looking at the elements from them, so it doesn't matter. And I've also just got one here. It's the sort of cheapest, dodgiest brand I can get a hold of fairly easily. It's not a sort of CAV type filter, but sort of SuperCheap don't make them. So it's a filter that works on the exact same principle, but it's a more modern one. Sort of, these are used on everything from like what 40s, 50s onwards. Like you got these sort of things on them, and obviously same thing. But this is a more modern thing, sort of out of modern Hilux and D-Maxes. It's pretty cheap and nasty, especially I compared it to the Ryco one on the shelf. It's pretty cheap and nasty, but I'm not looking at this filter in particular, at the things. I just want the element. This works in the same way we saw in these, how the fuel goes down the middle and up through and then gets separated and the water falls back down. This works the same way, it's just got a different type of housing. Come fuel in and out, up through the filter media, water separates and falls. Look at that, it's no straight along the bottom. Anyway, but I'm just going to cut the media out of this. Other thing to take note of before we talk about what we're doing with the test, these filters are both worth about $3 each. This one's $20. $20, which is the cheapest type of diesel fuel filter I could find to compare. So what we're going to be doing, so I'm going to cut the filter media out of all of these, and I've got little cups here. And what we're going to be doing is setting up with the filter media. I'm going to be placing it over the top and holding it down. And then I'm going to be taking a little measuring cup and putting a certain amount of water in each one on top of the filter media, and we're going to leave them for, I haven't worked it out long yet, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm going to come back and we're going to weigh each one on the scales to see how much water leaks through this waterproof paper. We're going to do that for each of these 3 brands here and see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and get this experiment set up and we'll see how we go. Alright you guys, so I got these 3 set up. I weighed each one before we did anything to them, and I've got some of the media cut out on each, out of each filter. Now I'm going to fill up my little cup here that I've got to measure. Sure it's full. And I'm just going to add this amount of water to the top of each filter media. Rightio. Just going to add a little bit more to the SuperCheap one. Just a little bit's gone off the edge. Not too worried about that though, because I'm expecting the water to not pass through these. So I'm hoping that even though we've got that there, the water's just going to sit on there. It's not going to make too much difference what's actually on the top. Now I might actually leave that because I'm not thinking of leaving it too long. I'm going to talk quickly. I said I wasn't going to talk about filter construction, but I actually found it very interesting. So, our CAV one, which we did in another video, this is part of it. It's got this cardboard in the middle, alright, this thick stuff. And then it's got this paper which gets folded down and then back up like that, and then glued. And so what happens is the media, what am I saying? The fuel with the water in it comes up this way, and let's see, because that's glued over, it has to go through that to be able to pass through the filter and keep moving on. And so that's the way that way works. The Fleetguard one I quite like. It does away with the complexity of that, and in turn adds more actual filter media to the filter. So what we've got is just one big thing, and it's glued along the, not on the inside, but on the outside of each circle when it's in like that. So all to go through, the fuel comes up this way and can go through the media at any point, get to the other side where it can then go up. Very simple and nice. It allows you to have a lot more media in the filter for each thing compared to this, where it's got like just cardboard, nothing to hold it together, and then a little bit of media. SuperCheap one that I would sort of class as sketchy. So this is a bit of the roll of it, and this is another one. You got your cardboard back as well as your media in here. You'll notice we've got one little round of glue, which, if you can hear, is holding it together. Now I'll tear off some of this. And so we've got our media there, and the media is glued in two places. So we've got top and bottom. And then this is glued to this surface here, gets glued to that there. So because the glue's there, it's not meant to be able to go up there, and neither can it go up there, and then up there. What it's got to do is come through the media here, go up around this, and then come back through to go up. Which all sounds well and good, but my major problem with that is, look at this, how easy, and you can just hear how easy it is. I just got these little, you can see how there's just no pressure on that at all. It's just falling apart. So I definitely wouldn't be using this anytime soon. But so there is actually some differences there in terms of construction. I didn't think that they would be different, but 3 different filters, same type, and there is 3 different types of the way they're constructed. It's very interesting. So I've been talking for 5 minutes, and by the looks of it, 5 minutes is going to give us enough of an idea of what this is doing. Bring it down a little bit, and a little bit of a close up at each of these ones. This is the Fleetguard. Looks like we're going pretty strong at this point, sitting there. SuperCheap looks like I might have soaked through a little bit. CAV looks like I soaked it up like a paper towel, which is definitely not what I expected from the brand and all that it is. So I'm going to go ahead and take these apart and see if we get any weight variations here. There we go. So I'm going to start with the CAV. Now, being careful. There's no water sitting on the top of that anymore. It's soaked all the way through. I think we have to be too careful with that. You can see we got water sitting in the bottom there. So, since we got a bit of space there, let me scale across. Move that. So originally our CAV weighed 64 grams. Now with our water in there, up to 65, and you can see we gained a bit of water in the bottom there. So that's our CAV. Now our SuperCheap Auto. Be a little bit more careful just because there's still a bit sitting on the top there. You can see that there. What I'm going to do is take that. I successfully avoided getting. Now if you can see, there is just a little bit in the bottom there, so I reckon it's not going to pick up 45 grams. $46, so we have picked up an extra gram there in the SuperCheap. The CAV media has just completely soaked that up. The SuperCheap media though, if we look on the back side, I can feel wetness through the back side, but it hasn't gone through too much, but it has a little bit gone through, and I reckon if we had to sat for much longer we would have got a bit more go through. Now Fleetguard here looks like we're going very strong. A bit of water sitting in the top there. What I'm going to do is just try and pour a little bit off so as to not spill it in the bowl. Still got some in there. I'm going to lift that up. That there, folks, is a completely dry bowl. 44 grams. Haven't gained any weight there. Now paper. Look at that excess. It's not actually, I can't actually feel any wetness on the back side there. It's dry. Which is amazing actually, considering those others. So we've got a little bit of a mess here. I'm just going to clean up a bit, come back. Rightio guys, so we've got this sort of back out now. I'm quite intrigued by these results actually. So go back over it again. CAV acted like a bit of paper towel and just soaked up all the water and let it all through. SuperCheap Auto acted slightly better than the CAV, but still let water through, still gained a gram of water. And Fleetguard one didn't let anything through, it was impenetrable to the water. So now One thing that comes to mind is the fact that I have had doubts in the past over whether this and these particular CAV filters are genuine or not. I mean, they sort of seem pretty genuine, but they do look, and the boxes look a little bit different to genuine ones that I have seen before. That might be something that I need to have a look into. I definitely don't like the construction of this. This plastic is just a bendy and wobbly and easy to break. The thing's hardly glued together in its little roll. It just comes apart real easy. You don't have to try at all. And our Fleetguard one, it's a very nice amount of media in this. Very robust design, and it actually separates the water. So it's just a bit of a warning to you guys out there. Filters definitely ain't just filters. It's essentially what I'm saying here. A lot of people might not realise that diesel filters are meant to separate water, and that's actually an important part of what they do. And that your paper and that has got to be treated in a certain way to be able to be impenetrable to that water, but let the fuel through. And just because it looks white doesn't mean it necessarily is that good. I mean, as we saw here, we got some medias that look very similar, feel similar to the touch, look similar. Some of them just simply don't separate water. They're simply not a water separator at all. So be careful, you guys. Try and go for trusted brands. I would have thought that CAV Delphi was a trusted brand, so I want to look in to see whether this is a genuine one or not. Maybe get my hands on one that is a proper genuine one, but this is expected to be of low quality, the SuperCheap one. This one, wasn't quite sure Fleetguard performed as expected, above and beyond. So there you have it, a little quick test. Something about water separation and diesel filters. Yeah. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. Any other comments if you think I've done something wrong in this test or wrong about the filters or something like that, I'd like to hear. But I thought this test was very interesting, so thanks for watching again.